was a large beam above. The building was very traditional, and we had both Western and Japanese sweets on display.
This is all that remains of the confectionery business that's been in Masayuki Kimura's family for 3 generations. More than 7 months ago, Kimura watched from a hilltop as his sweet shop and factory in Rikuzentakata, Japan, were destroyed by a massive tsunami.
It still feels like this whole thing is a dream, an illusion, and the old scene is what's real. When I close my eyes, I can still see the city that was here before.
Now the 54-year-old is trying to figure out how to start over. Even before the disaster, he was struggling. 7 years ago, Kimura opened a second store near the city's beachfront. He barely made a profit despite working 20 hours a day. The move left him $370,000 in debt. When the tsunami hit, Kimura lost both stores, his factory, and all of the family's recipes to the floodwaters. Still, like the owners of dozens of businesses here, he plans to rebuild. The disaster could have been a fresh start for Kimura. For years, he regretted his decision to come home to work in the family store after college. After the tsunami, he thought about moving away. But then neighbors started asking for his sweets again. And he realized his life's work has meant something to the town. In fact, it's part of what makes it worth saving.
My desire to continue this store is much higher even compared to before the tsunami. I am very motivated.
A tough choice, but the town's survival hinges on the efforts of small businessmen like Kimura. Around 80% of businesses in Rikuzentakata were destroyed in the tsunami. Before the disaster, they were the biggest employers in the region, which lacks any major industry or highways connecting it to urban hubs. Rebuilding is a risky proposition in a city that lost nearly 10% of its population to the tsunami and is still in ruins. Many residents displaced and still in limbo may leave in the coming months in search of jobs or simply an easier life.
Since the city is in a condition like this, the customers won't be the same as before.
But Kimura has a cheerleader urging him forward, his 81-year-old mother. Immediately following the tsunami, Takako Kimura was interviewed on national television. Her very first words, "I can't wait to make delicious sweets here again."
Of course, back then everyone was still searching for family members. After the interview, I thought, why was I talking about making sweets?
But after the broadcast, she says several townspeople approached the family with the same eagerness.
When people tell me they can't wait until they get to eat Kimura's sweets again, it really gives me motivation to make sweets again.
Masayuki Kimura is marking out the site where he plans to erect his temporary store in December, walking distance from the current city hall. His aim? To rebuild without committing too much capital. Since the city doesn't have a blueprint for downtown yet, it'll be another couple of years before he decides on where to set up a permanent shop. A government agency is footing the bill for the temporary space and will pay for 2 years' rent. And Kimura has applied for investment funds and interest-free loans to cover the rest of his expenses. With thousands of dollars of debt already, it's not clear if he will qualify for more loans. Still, the businessman remains optimistic. Back in the kitchen again, his family is reviving their recipes. They work out of a donated space, a cargo train car retrofitted with sinks, glass doors, and discounted equipment from nearby towns. Fresh from the oven, ganzuki, a sweet steamed bread. For the Wall Street Journal, this is Linda Blake in Rikuzentakata.